Hey, what's going on? I hope that you're doing great. Today, we're going to talk about Apple Motion and Ableton, or whichever DAW that you're using. Apple Motion is a motion graphics program, sort of is like the alternative to Adobe's After Effects. I'll just start by saying that I'm not a graphic designer and I don't really have a lot of skills in that area. I rely a lot on my partner who is a designer. You should check out her work. I'll put a link. She normally helps me with a lot of the things that I'm working on. However, if you are a subscriber to this channel and you've seen my thumbnails, then you have an understanding of how bad I am at graphic design. That's all me. And I'm not good at that. But I think that there's an area for a lot of creative exploration, and I'm not sure if people are aware of these features. So I wanted to show them to open up some potential creative exploration or ideas. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and open up Apple Motion. This software is a great companion for Final Cut. It allows you to create titles and transitions and all sorts of things like that that you can just import directly into Final Cut. All of my video, I typically record at 23.98 frames per second, so I'm going to pop that there, and I'm just going to do 2 seconds for 2 bars. Open up a project, and here we are, we're greeted with this. There's sort of like 3 main areas that you'll work in here. You've got basically your library, where you have a bunch of different assets and resources. You have the inspector, which allows you to edit things that you bring into your timeline. And then here's your timeline down here. And this functions just sort of like an arrangement within a DAW or something like that. Let's go ahead and just get something very basic started. I'm gonna go ahead and open up generators, and I'm gonna select color solid and just drag that in. I'll delete this here. I'm also going to bring in a second color solid. Select the inspector, and let's go ahead and pick a different color. And then for this one here, I'm gonna pick a different color. Maybe this? Right now, if I hit play on the playhead, you're not gonna see any movement because I haven't created anything at all, right? Maybe we could mess with the opacity and we could have it sort of flash in and out. I could just put a keyframe in here, maybe go like halfway here, like pull this down. And then at the end, I could pop that back up. And then if we play this, it's pretty cool. This is like interesting. But this particular parameter that I'm talking about elevates this and makes this much more interesting. We're gonna select this little drop down here, and there is an option for add parameter behavior. And then in here, you have a bunch of different things like audio, and you've got MIDI, which I'm assuming would allow you to be able to control these parameters with a MIDI controller. But for this, we're gonna go ahead and select oscillate. And here's our different options within the inspector. We have an ability to change the wave shape. So we have sine, square, sawtooth, and triangle. We have phase, so we can edit where the phase of the oscillator starts and ends. We have an option for amplitude or depth. And then we have speed, which would be in BPM. So right now it's set at 10 beats per minute. We have a half range switch, which basically takes this from being like unipolar to bipolar, right? So that it can go up and then down, right, into the positive or the negative. And then we have a start and an end offset. So I'm gonna leave those at 0. Let's do 240 BPM. And we're gonna change this to a sawtooth. Kind of interesting. Maybe we could do on and off with a square. That's kind of jarring. But we could do sine, and it will just sort of like an on and off thing. That's actually kind of cool. So let's do 120, and let's do a sawtooth. Bing, 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 bing. Let's take it a step further. So we'll go back to the library, and then we're gonna go ahead and select shapes. Drag in a triangle, and we'll put this on top of all of that. We'll go to the inspector, and what we're gonna do is just set the outline here. Let's increase the width. Maybe something that might be interesting is to automate that, right? And I'm sort of thinking of this like an LFO. So let's go in here, parameter behavior, oscillate. Let's match this. So we'll do triangle. We set the phase at 4 here. The amplitude, let's just make it quite small. The BPM at 120. Let's take a look at this here. Okay, maybe we can take this another step further. So with our triangle, I'm gonna select filters up at the top here. We'll go to blur, and I quite like this prism blur. The amount is set to 0, add parameter behavior, oscillate, 60 for the speed. We go like there. And then on top of this, maybe we can add just one more filter. Maybe we'll do something like, okay, kind of interesting. Maybe lastly, another thing that we could do to this is we could take our triangle shape And we have an option for rotate. Here, add parameter behavior, oscillate. We'll set the amount to maybe 10%. Kind of cool. And then maybe to polish it and just to give it a look, what I'm going to do is this film grain in, set the film grain overlay. This just gives it a little bit of a texture. Old film grain overlay. How about overlay? Okay, we could take this, export Ableton, drag this in. Let's loop this. Okay, it's like not the coolest thing in the world, but I'm not a graphic designer and I'm not a motion graphics person, but I do think that it's really interesting to take my sort of synth brain and say, okay, I can use an LFO for all of these parameters. I have like unlimited LFOs for all of these different parameters. And if you understood motion graphics or if you understood graphic design, I think you could marry the two and I think you could create some really interesting things. Yeah, that's it. Links for the Patreon down below. Also, if you're not into Patreon, I've got my music on Bandcamp. Consider supporting me there. And yeah, see you.